Guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're actually going to be breaking down exactly how I was able to go about starting and scaling a social media marketing agency to 10K per month in 24 days. Sounds crazy, but let me break this down. So first and foremost, guys, if you're new around here, again, my channel is literally not even monetized at all. I'm pretty sure you've watched a couple of my videos. If not, if you're new around here, definitely drop a like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. But if you are like a recurring visitor, I'm pretty sure you noticed that there's no real ads on these actual videos in terms of like you don't see ads. You have to press a little skip now button. Well, there shouldn't be anyway because my channel is not monetized. I've literally not monetized my channel for 4 years. So all I ask in return for these literal free videos, literally free. When I say free, literally free videos. I don't get paid by YouTube, not even 1 cent. I've been paid over the last 4 years. I've been on YouTube for 4 years now. So all I ask for in return is drop a little like here and there, if you will, on this particular video. So smash that like button, subscribe, turn on notification bell if you haven't already. So guys, let's get into the video. So how on earth did I go about scaling a marketing agency from, technically it wasn't zero, but I want to kind of break this down on how I was able to scale it, or, you know, eventually and finally to that 10K per month mark within 24 days. So let me break this down. The tip of the iceberg is what you guys are seeing right now in terms of my growth. Because obviously now we're doing like multiple 6 figures. Well, I'm like a 6-figure business owner, like 3 times over, almost 4 times over at this particular point. So it's actually kind of crazy in USD, that is, by the way. And that's revenue. You know, 8% of that is actually about 82%, 83% is actually profit margin. I'll throw some screenshots up on the screen for you right now. But long story short, guys, I want to kind of break down the underneath stuff that you guys aren't seeing. So you actually have to go back in my journey a couple years back. So a couple years back, obviously, you know, you see me starting a YouTube channel, you see me starting my agency, and I went through all the trials, tribulations. So I got a lot of experience just failing, basically. Not experience doing good work, just a lot of experience just failing over and over and over and over again. So I pretty much tried everything until I found something that worked. Now, here's how I basically was able to go about doing this. Number one, I basically quit, and this is actually important, so make sure you write this down if you're taking notes. I quit every other sort of like outreach method. So let me break this down real quick and let me just backtrack a second. With a social media marketing agency, we all know, or we should know by now, that the most important thing you can do is do lots of outreach to lots of different people, to set lots of to start lots of conversations, to set lots of calls in order to close. Because think about it. The more outreach you do, the more calls you're going to get. There is no two ways about that. You cannot argue with that. You know, water is wet, the sky is up, 2 + 2 = 4, grass is green. You can't argue with those things. That's a universal law, if you will. That one cannot be physically broken. The more outreach you do, the more calls you're gonna set. There's no two ways about that. If someone's trying to tell you something other than that, that's absolutely BS. Obviously, the more outreach you do, that's actually genuinely good outreach, you know, good quality outreach. But the more you can do that at scale, you know, quality outreach at scale, the more calls you're gonna set. No two ways about that. So that's the most important thing that you need to focus on. So I basically kind of like cut everything else out, because I was doing like Facebook messages, I was doing LinkedIn messages, and I was doing 20 of these a day, by the way. 20 Facebook messages, 20 LinkedIn messages. I was doing DMs on Instagram, 20 of those as well, and I was connecting with like 10 people or something like that on LinkedIn every single day. So I was trying to hit all this outreach, right? And I was just literally getting burnt out over and over and over and over again. This is another point within itself. Like, a lot of people actually start an agency and they try to do like 100 outreach in their like first sprint, if you will, and that's almost like going to the gym and trying to lift the heaviest weight on your very first day. I mean, you probably might be able to push through the first couple of days, but after a long period of time, you're just going to burn out. So the consistency isn't there. So that being said, I quit everything else. So I basically stopped Facebook outreach. I stopped Instagram DMing. I stopped everything. And I literally just took a step back and said, things aren't working. Looking at the numbers, and by the way, tracking numbers is another good point within itself. You need to track your numbers, because I could see that I wasn't setting enough calls. I was doing all this outreach and I was setting maybe like 3 calls a month or something like that, which is obviously terrible, literally terrible. Maybe like 1 call a week, 4 calls a month. That is not good. Like, those numbers are terrible. So long story short, I quit everything. Obviously wasn't working. I needed to just like kind of relax a little bit. My head was I was just all over the place. I was just trying to do too many things at once, if you will. So I stopped. I then said to myself, I'm gonna pick one outreach method, right? And I'm gonna test it. I'm just gonna do 10 outreach on this one platform and see if it works for 90 days. So this is literally what I did. So this was December 2019 on the 1st. I don't know why it's always on the 1st, but every time, I don't know, it's that new month, new feeling kind of thing, if you will. So I seen that it was December coming up, or should I say December coming up, and I set my challenge, my kind of like 90-day challenge, which was I'm just gonna select one outreach method, and I'm just going to do outreach on that 10 a day. and I'm just going to stay consistent with that. And if I miss a single day, I have to start again. So I just said to myself, I'm going to start a 90-day challenge, do 10 outreach per day on this one platform. And that one platform was Upwork.com. I know you guys have heard me mention this many, many times. So here's the test though. I need you guys to understand how devoted I was to this. I said to myself, even if it's day 89 and I still haven't landed a client, just for the sake of the test, I'm going to continue for the 90 days. I'm going to remove all emotion and just do this based on the sheer numbers. I'm going to track everything from how many messages I'm sending per day to how many replies I'm getting back to how many calls I'm setting to how many clients I'm actually getting and obviously how much money I'm making. This is the test you guys need to do. I'm not even joking. So whatever you're doing right now, stop all outreach if you will. Focus on one outreach. Obviously, when I say this, make sure you focus on the best outreach system that works for your particular niche, for your particular business, for your particular service. As in, like, don't just pick a outreach method that you want to try, if you will. Actually look at the different outreach methods and actually ask yourself, can I reach my ideal clients and customers, if you will, in that particular platform? Let me give you an example. What I mean by that: dentists. Trying to cold call dentists is literally like pulling your teeth out. It's so friggin' hard to like actually cold call, get a dentist on the phone, because they're always in practice, or they're always in a meeting, or they're always just somewhere else. You're always going to hit the gatekeeper. I've actually done a lot of, I can speak from experience here, I've done a lot of cold calls to the actual dentist niche. I did over 300 cold calls and I set 0 meetings, quite literally back in the day. So the reason why I chose Upwork, just if you're wondering, is because I knew that it was like a warmer traffic source, if you will. Not only that, but it has a longer half-life. And here's what I mean by that. People on Upwork, right, are actually actively going out of their way to post a job out saying, hey, I'm a gym business and I need help with my social media marketing. That to me is quite literally just feeding a hungry customer. Like, that customer right there is hungry for your service, and all you're doing is you're taking your service to where the customers are already hungry and your service is already in demand. So that was the first step. And I guess, what I mean by long half-life, by the way, if you're wondering, just to reiterate, Upwork has a long half-life, right? And what I mean by that is the more you use Upwork, the better your profile becomes. The better your profile becomes, you get better stats. Because you get better stats, you get more clients. Because you get more clients, you get better stats. So it's like an endless flywheel, snowball, positive reinforcing kind of thing. The more you use it, the more it grows. So it can actually compound. Not only that, but you can actually get inbound leads. So when your profile's good, your profile can get pushed up the ranks, if you will, and actually recommended to clients when they're actually posting out jobs. So you can actually get people invite you to their to an interview, if you will, which is basically just a sales call in my particular eyes. So that's basically why I use Upwork. Again, I'm not affiliated with Upwork in any way, shape, or form. I believe I have to say that in pretty much every one of my videos. But yeah, that's Upwork. So I started using Upwork, right? And I mastered just one thing. I got one thing to work for me first. It took me I think it was about 6 months to get to like 5.2K. And this was me just starting off with pretty much zero experience, pretty much broke. Well, technically I wasn't that broke at that particular point. I had a little bit of money for connects here and there, because I had a couple clients, I was working with prior to this that I got from like LinkedIn inbound, by the way, which was not outreach, cold outreach. But long story short, I was using Upwork, mastered it, and then I continued to use that to get it to work. Then what I decided to do is diversify my traffic source. So it was all the way up until like 2021 April 2021. I was around 3.1k British pounds with my actual agency. I'm not too sure what that is in US dollars, but I think it's like 4k. I actually dropped down a little bit. So I was hovering from like call it June 2020 to April 2021. I was kind of just like hovering up and down, getting clients, kind of losing clients. Wasn't really technically some clients were staying on for literally ages. Some clients were a hit or miss, if you will. My service delivery wasn't the best. I could definitely vouch for that and definitely, hold my hand up and admit that for sure, 100%. And that's just the name of the game, to be honest with you. First, you have to figure out how to get clients. Then you have to figure out how to keep clients, and then get clients, and then refer clients back to you, if you will. It's all in steps, if you would. I'm just going through those steps. Then I realized that I wanted to diversify and scale my agency even quicker. Now, the reason why I wanted to diversify is because I wanted to go after the e-commerce space, if you will. The reason for that is because I lost a couple clients due to the whole COVID thing back in like 2020. I realized I wanted to get into the e-commerce niche, and I've always wanted to kind of get into the e-commerce niche. So this is the second point now. I used Upwork, stacked up small ticket clients, and I built my cash flow up for quite a while, if you will. So I had cash reserves on hand. Now what I decided to do is diversify my traffic source using cold emails. I knew that cold emails was going to do wonders, if you will, for the e-commerce space, and it actually does, if you will. Because e-com brands are usually, e-com brand owners, should I say, are actually in their inbox and stuff like that. They check their emails normally at like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. By the way, this is research that I had to do. So take a listen to what I've had to do. And obviously, don't let this go over your head. Number one, use Upwork, warm traffic source, built up cash flow. I then went and diversified my traffic source because, again, having one traffic source, if you will, or one way you're getting clients is good to start off with, because I do recommend mastering one thing, because again, the cliche saying goes, or whatever that saying is, he who tries to chase two rabbits catches none. So just try to catch one rabbit and get that to work. Then what I decided to do is diversify my traffic source, because I know that, and this is an infamous kind of like, I think it was like Russell Brunson that mentioned this like multiple times in his books and stuff like that. Don't quote me on that. But I've read so many books where it says that like, most business owners try to build their own traffic source because they know that if you're using someone else's platform, that platform could just take your traffic away, like just like that. And then give you an example. Google back in, I can't remember what the actual year was, but there was a Google, I think it was called Google Penguin update or something like that. And people were using Google ads for traffic, like running actual Google ads for their business to generate customers and make money. And then Google had this algorithm change, this update, and it completely just wiped out a whole bunch of people's like businesses and livelihood basically at that particular point. So that's an example of just not relying on one thing. So if that one thing goes down, like I'm not saying that Upwork's going to go down or anything like that, but if it does go down, then I want to make sure that I know how to get clients, elsewhere through like just a cold email. Plus, being able to just say you can get clients through just the email, you can set meetings with people, like you just got an email domain, you send emails out to people and they get on a call with you and you can close them for like $1,500 per month, $1,750 per month, $2,000 per month. It's actually quite a cool feeling, because that basically means all you really need is a laptop, a domain, and Wi-Fi, and you can make money. That's literally all you need, and that's literally the skill I wanted to master, if you will. So I understood that. Now, I did pick one niche. This is the key. You have to pick one niche, one service. Just get one thing to work first. Now that I had one niche, one service, which was the e-commerce brands, and one service, which was Facebook ads, I knew that Facebook ads was something that e-commerce brands wanted due to market research. The point number one is, for this particular half of the hybrid system, if you will, was picked one niche, picked one service. Then I did my actual research into the actual niche. Well, technically, I did my niche research which basically enabled me to pick my service, if you will, because I actually do what I like to call the reverse market approach, which is where you find a particular niche, if you will, and you set a hypothesis. Well, I think these businesses need help with so-and-so. Then what you do is you go and validate that through research, if you will, unbiased research and first-hand research. So I actually started emailing like e-commerce brand owners. Like, I'm not even joking. I would literally collected leads of e-commerce, this is by myself, by the way. I literally collected leads, e-commerce brand owners from e-commerce brand owners, and I was literally just reaching out to them and just asking them like what their daily struggles were. If they could change one thing about their business, what would it be? I was just asking them questions such as like where do you want your business to be? What's stopping you from scaling it? What's it like to run an e-commerce business? And I was Googling all this sort of stuff as well. And I came across that like they always are trying to look for a way to generate high quality traffic. They're always wanting to, increase their sales as well, increase their conversion rates, basically make more money, if you will. But obviously it's a little bit more in depth than that. But for, the sake of this video and the length of this video, I don't want to go into too much detail there. But for you guys, the actual niche research sheets are actually inside of agency fragmentation. That's actually quite a tongue twister right there, to be honest with you guys. But the niche research sheets that I actually use is inside agency fragmentation. You can actually get those if you're inside agency fragmentation. You know exactly what I'm talking about in week 1. But as soon as I figured out these pain problems, I then was able to sharpen my message. So I knew what they want at this point. So now I started manually emailing these people over like, I think it was like 8 months or something like that. But the thing here's the key to this. I didn't care about my emails. As in, I didn't care if I closed a client through email, because I was already using Upwork and Upwork was working for me and I was already making money. So at this point, I was like just chilling, to be honest with you, sending emails out to e-com brand owners and just seeing what they reacted to. I literally, I'm not even joking, spent 8 months just watching and seeing what they reacted to. I didn't care if I closed them. I didn't care if I set a call. I would literally just noting all this stuff down. I was tracking all my metrics, seeing what the open rates were, seeing what the reply rates were, seeing what they responded to, what sort of offers they liked, what sort of offers turned them off, if you will. And I literally was just writing all this stuff down and just collecting research. I genuinely didn't even care if I closed the client. And I think it's because I was so nonchalant about it, it just kind of helped me, to be honest with you. It literally was just like I was just testing the waters, if you will, just putting out this message here, putting out that message there, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. Then I actually started setting meetings consistently back to back, if you will, and started realizing this. And I was like, okay, cool. So I can actually start landing clients now, to be honest with you, because I'm actually setting meetings now. The only thing is when I'm jumping on these meetings, they're actually cold. And I actually mentioned this on a video. So I kind of thought to myself, how do I warm these people up? Then what I decided to do is get myself like a media buyer and actually start using actual case studies now. And then I seen it, that was another jump, if you will. In fact, technically that was actually slightly before when I actually started putting my messaging out. So I figured out what they wanted. Then I got myself a media buyer that could actually produce that. Excuse me, that's exactly what I did. Found myself the actual problems within the niche through niche research, validation. Then I found myself a media buyer and I was able to leverage his case studies. Again, the actual way I was able to do that, by the way, was I sold him on my actual vision, if you will, which you genuinely, enjoy, as in like genuinely liked, as in like, I told him that, why I'm building an agency, what the actual vision is for the future, what I see, for him and for me, if you will. And he was actually sold on that, if you will. And this is what you need to become an actual successful agency owner. Not only do you need to be able to sell your service, you need to be able to sell your vision, if you will. So that's how I got my media buyer. Found him on Upwork.com, by the way. And we put a contract in place. I actually had to custom build a contract that allowed me to use his case studies in a fair use kind of way. Now, this contract, again, is inside of Agency Transformation. If you want to join, go to the link below. Or if you want to work with me one-on-one, there's a video that explains the one-to-one program in entirety. Go below that. It's completely free. You don't need to opt in or anything like that. Just go watch that video on the one-to-one program. But this is the same contract that I used. We both signed that. Was able to use his case studies. Now, this is when I started doing the little tests here and there, where I was literally just walking through, just very, very, very casually, very nonchalantly, just sending emails to people, using Lemlist and just seeing what they reacted to, seeing what they didn't react to. Then I started setting meetings consistently, and that's when I started ramping stuff up. And the way how I ramped it up was by actually hiring just one first line writer. So I was still doing the lead sourcing myself. I hired a first line writer and tested them out. Just literally trained them up, tested them out. And then they eventually started setting me meetings kind of pretty much on autopilot. So I was like, holy shit, this is actually genuinely working. So I hired two. So basically what I did was I hired two first line writers. First line writers are just basically people who are going to write the very first introduction line to your personalized email, because you do have to personalize your emails when you send them out. Don't just blast and hope for the best. So then I hired two first line writers, and this is when I literally started scaling up. So as you can see, there's a lot of work that's gone into going from 3.1k to that, just under 12,000 US dollars. This is how I did it. I got myself two first line writers from the Philippines, and I found these from Upwork, and I taught them, I first of all taught the first one how to, write the first lines and stuff like that. And the second person was already pretty much on par with what we're doing. They just needed a little bit of training. And the training I gave them took me 8 months to create. I literally have a sheet that I give out to people in Agency Transformation and the one-to-one program that literally took me 8 months to create, of research, if you will. And it's just how to write first lines, how to send out emails, how to do lead sourcing, all that sort of stuff. It's like a 15-step kind of like process that I had to create with Looms. And it's my own internal training that I actually give my actual virtual assistants, or my first line writers, whatever you want to call them. And I just give that to my students, if you will, and they just can take that and give that to their first line writers and stuff like that. So I that's the training I gave my first line writers, and every single time I give that to a first line writer, they know exactly what to do, and they can jump straight into my systems, and they know, well, relatively easy, but obviously there's little tweaks here and there that we need to do, but it's painless, put it that way. So that's the sheet again inside of Agency Transformation. I'm tired of plugging Agency Transformation now. That's a good program. Get into there if you need help. Like if you're genuinely just ready, just go watch the video. I'm telling you, it won't be a waste of your time. Anyway, long story short, so that's what I basically did. And all I really did was focus on the inputs. So I was doing 15 outreach, so 15 outreach on Upwork per day myself, because that's a system that just genuinely works. Like genuinely, it's just warm leads basically. You can't get any warmer than that. Then I had my two first line writers doing 25 emails per day each. So I was doing 50 emails per day on autopilot. They were writing the first lines. I was checking them in the Google Drive, uploading them into Lemlist, and just letting them fly. And that literally is obviously, by the way, retaining clients behind a media buyer, contractors, social media managers. Obviously, I'm assuming you guys have, got that sort of stuff set down. Obviously, I'm not trying to make too much assumptions in this video, but that's obviously a system that you need. Client attraction, client retention. So you need both those systems. So the system I built out was Upwork for cash flow, two first line writers, blasting out emails, but they are actually personalized. They're actually good emails that people actually genuinely want to kind of like hear. It's actually complimenting the business owner on certain things, such as like the podcast episode where they mentioned a certain point. So it shows that I've actually done proper research into their actual business, if you will. And that's how I was able, and by the way, just real quick, I actually closed multiple back-to-back e-com brands within a week or something like that when I first turned this system on. I think it took me like a week or something like that. Once the system was on, but like they both were active, my first line writers, and then I closed like a couple clients, like 2 e-com clients in like I think it was like 3 days or 4 days apart from each other, and I literally just shut up. And now we're actually at altogether with the consulting side of things as well, which is basically the same thing as an agency. Like literally, I keep telling you guys this, you don't believe me. Agency and consulting is the same shit. Helping somebody go from point A to point B. It's just a different vehicle you help them do that with. One's coaching and one's Facebook ads. It's the same stuff, quite literally. You can call them, they're literally both clients. That's all it is. But anyway, long story short, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed that particular video. That's how I was able to do, get to like, my business past that 10K per month mark, in 24 days. And we've not dropped down ever since, like quite literally. This is one of our, I think we're actually averaging, over the last 6 months, I've averaged 20,000 British pounds on average, made 150K in the last 6 months. So absolutely nuts. I'll throw the screenshot up on the screen. So it's absolutely nuts, guys. And that's how I was able to do it. Focus on the inputs, because those create your outputs. And I use the tracking sheet as well. You can get that for free inside of Agent Fragmentation. In fact, technically, you can actually get that for free. Not even if you're inside of Agent Fragmentation. Just go below. There's a link to Agent Fragmentation website. Just go and opt in. There's an actual free tracking sheet. That's that same tracking sheet I use to figure out how much outreach I need to do to get, X amount of clients. If you don't know your numbers, it's not going to work. And if you can't retain clients, it's not going to work. Anyway, guys, hope you're doing well, staying safe. I'll see you guys very, very soon in the next video. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.